It is 97 degrees in southwest Atlanta, and inside a locked trailer with no air conditioning, a baby is crying. An Atlanta police detective standing near a row of parked vehicles at an apartment complex on Sylvan Road stops moving. He listens. The sound is coming from a tow trailer just a few feet away, the kind you'd hitch to the back of a truck and forget about. Nobody lives in a trailer like that. Nobody is supposed to. But someone does. Within minutes, officers are at the door. It's locked from the inside. Body camera footage released by the Atlanta Police Department a day later shows an officer wedging a cinder block against the frame, working a pair of bolt cutters through a padlock. The door swings open. And there, inside a space investigators would later describe in a sworn warrant as unclean and unsuitable for human habitation, officers find two little girls, 4-year-old Zola Cooper and her 11-month-old sister, Norah, hidden under a blanket, next to the woman accused of taking them. Put your hands up, an officer orders. And according to their mother, who would later watch this footage for the first time, Zola, 4 years old, raised hers.
I couldn't look at the whole thing when I heard my baby's crying, and when the police said, "Put your hands up," and my baby put her hands up. It's so sad.
It is August 17th, 2026, 2 days after Zola and Norah went missing, 2 days after their mother left them in the care of a woman she'd known for a year, a woman the girls called Auntie. What happened in those 2 days is the story investigators are still trying to fully piece together. But what's already clear is this. The woman inside that trailer had done something like this before, and the question that would come to define this case isn't just what happened to two little girls in Atlanta. It's why nobody stopped it the first time.
Almost exactly 5 years ago, when he was 4 days old, he was kidnapped from his home.
I just couldn't stop crying. Like, it was just so much run through my head about it. I just kept thinking that I want to get my baby back. I want to go see him again. Don't know where this lady at, where she's going. None of that.
Police tracked him down about 7 hours after he disappeared. This is video of the emotional moment Washington was reunited with her baby. That was in 2021.
This is the story of Zola and Norah Cooper. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe, drop a like, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. It genuinely helps this channel keep telling these stories the right way. Now, let's get into it. Before any of this happened, before the alerts and the search and the body cam footage that would circulate across the country, Zola and Norah were simply two sisters growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, in the care of their mother, Elisha Redding. Zola was 4 years old enough to understand instructions, old enough, tragically, to know to raise her hands when a police officer told her to. Norah was just 11 months old, still an infant, still entirely dependent on the adults around her for everything. What the public record shows about their daily life is limited, and out of respect for the family, this documentary won't speculate beyond what's been verified. What is known is that their mother described a family routine that included leaning on her broader community for support, the kind of informal network many parents build, especially in the exhausting first years of raising young children. It was through exactly that kind of network that Elisha Redding first crossed paths with the woman who would later be accused of taking her daughters. Redding has said publicly that she met a woman using the name Rose in a Facebook group for expecting and new mothers, roughly a year before August 2026. The woman had made a post offering free hair services, braids, along with a pedicure and a massage to expectant mothers. Redding said she initially ignored the message. The second time, she didn't. The first time she reached out, I brushed it to the side, Redding later told CBS News Atlanta, and the second time I just let her do my hair. And after that, we started talking and being friends. Over the following months, that online connection became something more. The two women met in person by police accounts 6 or 7 times. The woman presented herself, according to court document reporting, as someone connected to a broader support network for mothers, someone who helped with babysitting and related services. She spent enough time with the family, Redding said, that her daughters started calling her auntie. By the time August 2026 arrived, this was not a stranger being trusted with 2 small children. It was, in Elisha Redding's understanding, a friend. That distinction, friend or stranger, would soon become one of the most painful parts of this story. Saturday, August 15, 2026 began like an ordinary weekend for the Redding family. At some point that evening, Elisha Redding left her daughters in the care of the woman she knew as Rose, the friend from the Facebook Mothers group, now a familiar presence in the girls' lives. Exactly what time that handoff happened has been reported inconsistently across the media coverage of this case. Some outlets place it around 6 in the evening, tied to Redding stepping out for dinner. Others describe the babysitting arrangement beginning later that night. What's consistent across every account is what came next. According to an arrest warrant later obtained by local media, the woman told Redding she was taking the girls out to Walmart and to a business called Candy Utopia. It was meant to be an outing, a few hours at most. The plan, according to the warrant, was for the two women to meet up afterward at the children's grandmother's house. She never showed up. Redding said she called throughout the day. Each time she said she was told everything was fine. Then the explanations began to shift. At some point, the woman allegedly told Redding that she and the girls had been in a crash. One account specifies a collision involving a semi-truck and that they were now at a hospital. It was a claim that should have been simple to verify. Redding tried. She called hospital after hospital, searching for any record that her daughters had been admitted anywhere. There was none.
You all realized that these two kids were missing?
When she texted me and told me they was hit by a semi-truck, but it was a lie.
Because, what do you mean hit by a semi-truck?
That was she told me. When I first got a response back to her, she told me they was in a car accident, but they wasn't in a car accident because we called all the children's hospitals and the adult hospitals, and they said they wasn't in their system.
By Sunday night, close to 10:30 p.m., Alicia Redding called 911. Text messages later obtained by Channel 2 Action News capture the escalating fear in her own words. "Where are my kids?" she wrote in one message to the woman she'd trusted for a year. "Hours passed. Please give me my kids back," she wrote in another. According to CBS News Atlanta's reporting, when officers first responded, the situation was initially treated as something closer to a family or custody dispute, not yet understood as an abduction. That would not last long. As investigators began looking closer at the inconsistencies, the missing hospital records, the vanished woman, the two young children nowhere to be found, the case would be redefined into something far more urgent. A kidnapping investigation. And once Atlanta police made that determination, the response scaled up almost immediately. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation issued what's known as a Levi's call, Georgia's version of an Amber Alert, for Zola and Norah Cooper. The alert identified the suspect and warned that the two young girls were believed to be in extreme danger. It included a detail that would later matter a great deal to investigators. The suspect was believed to be traveling in a white Ford F-350 with an Alabama license plate. Atlanta Police's Special Victims Unit took over the case, and they weren't working it alone. Over the following hours, the investigation pulled in the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, alongside Atlanta's own patrol and fugitive units. Multiple agencies working through the night, chasing two separate but converging threads, the suspect and the vehicle. Investigators turned to cell phone data. According to warrant information later reported by local news, the FBI used cell phone location technology to track the suspect's phone to a specific area, the Sylvan Road corridor in southwest Atlanta, roughly 5 miles from where the girls had last been seen. That data alone didn't pinpoint an exact location, but it narrowed a citywide search down to a neighborhood. And in that neighborhood, something else was happening, something no algorithm could provide. People were talking. Officers began working directly with residents near the Gateway South apartments, and at least one person on the property told investigators that a woman matching the suspect's description might be there. By Monday morning, August 17th, detectives had a location. What they didn't yet have was proof the girls were actually inside it. That's when a detective moving through the property and checking vehicles heard it, the unmistakable sound of a child crying, coming from a locked tow trailer parked among the cars.
You hear those children crying inside, it was a sense of urgency. Get in there at any means necessary and get them out before the situation changes or anything gets worse.
It was the break the entire search had been building toward, but it also raised the most immediate question investigators could face. Was it actually them, and if it was, were they safe? Within minutes, that question was answered, for better and for worse, in the moment captured on officers' body cameras. Officers forced their way into the trailer using a cinder block and bolt cutters. Inside, they found the woman investigators had been searching for, along with Zola and Norah, reportedly hidden together under a blanket. The children were removed first. The woman, later identified publicly as 42-year-old Lakesha Brown, was taken into custody immediately after. According to the sworn warrant, the trailer had no air conditioning, only overhead ventilation in conditions officers measured at 97 degrees outside. Investigators described the interior as cluttered and, in their words, unclean and unsuitable for human habitation. One officer noted the presence of a mini fridge and a television inside, details that led investigators to believe Brown may have been living there. Zola and Norah were taken to Grady Memorial Hospital, evaluated and by police accounts found to be in good health. Shortly after, they were reunited with their mother. For Atlanta police, finding Brown inside the trailer alongside the children was, in the words of one detective involved in the search, almost secondary to the relief of finding the girls safe. "Once we saw those kids in there and got them out safely," Detective Lucas Sajdek said, "it was a weight off our shoulders." But as investigators began questioning Brown and building their case, a second story started to surface, one that had nothing to do with Atlanta at all. Investigators learned that Brown had ties to Alabama, and when they looked into her background, they found something that made this case feel less like an isolated incident and more like a pattern. 5 years earlier, in August 2021, a nearly identical scenario had played out 300 miles away. On August 25, 2021, Jefferson County, Alabama Sheriff's deputies were called to a home in Fairfield after a 4-day-old infant, Camarion Deshaun Taylor, was reported taken. According to the sheriff's office, Brown, then 37, had been at the home as a family friend, present alongside the baby's mother and grandmother. When the mother, exhausted after a doctor's visit, lay down to rest, she woke to find both her newborn son and Brown gone. During that investigation, family members discovered something troubling on Brown's own social media accounts. Photos and videos of a baby resembling Camarion, alongside earlier posts in which Brown had claimed to have recently given birth to twin boys. Tips poured in. Detectives eventually traced the infant to a home in Lipscomb, where he was found safe and reunited with his mother. Brown was arrested and charged with first-degree kidnapping. Her bond was set at $100,000. It's important to be precise here because the record itself is precise. Brown was never convicted in that case. She pleaded not guilty. According to reporting from Alabama outlet WBRC, a Jefferson County grand jury eventually indicted her in 2025, 4 years after her arrest, and she was scheduled to stand trial on May 18, 2026. She never showed up. An outstanding warrant for failing to appear in court was issued, and that warrant was still active when Atlanta police found her, 5 months later, hiding in a trailer with 2 more children who weren't hers. "It's sad, it's scary, and it's sad," Bessemer Division District Attorney Linnace Washington said after learning of the Atlanta case. "My heart goes out to the mother of those bobbies. This is unacceptable." Washington's office confirmed it would move to revoke Brown's bond from the 2021 case in light of what happened in Georgia. And the Alabama case wasn't the only shadow following Brown into her Fulton County jail cell. Officials in Paulding County, Georgia, confirmed she also had an active warrant there for misdemeanor obstruction tied to a 2025 investigation. According to Paulding County Sheriff Ashley Henson, deputies had responded the previous year to a report involving photographs of what appeared to be a newborn baby who looked dead. When deputies searched the home, they found no infant at all. Investigators later concluded Brown had not been pregnant and had allegedly used photos to convince someone that she had given birth. She was charged with obstruction for allegedly lying to detectives during that investigation. 3 separate jurisdictions, 3 separate cases involving children or claims about children connected to the same woman. Before we get to where things stand today, if this kind of carefully sourced case breakdown is what you come here for, take a second to like this video and subscribe to Real Crime Review. It genuinely helps this channel keep covering cases the right way. As of the most recent information available, Lakesha Brown remains in custody at the Fulton County Jail without bond, facing 2 counts of kidnapping and 2 counts of first-degree cruelty to children in connection with Zola and Norah Cooper. She was scheduled to make her first court appearance in Fulton County on Tuesday, August 18, 1 day after her arrest. According to Atlanta News First, she waived that appearance just hours before Atlanta police made the body camera footage of her arrest public. According to the arrest warrant, when investigators questioned Brown, she reportedly admitted that she should have returned the girls when Alicia Redding asked for them back. But when asked why she hadn't, the warrant states she could not offer what investigators described as a logical reason. That admission, if accurately reflected in the warrant, tells us that Brown acknowledged failing to do the one thing that would have ended this before it became a criminal investigation. What it doesn't tell us is why. Atlanta police have said publicly that a motive in this case has not been established. That remains true as of this reporting. What is established is the geography of Brown's legal exposure right now. In Fulton County, Georgia, she faces the kidnapping and cruelty charges connected to Zola and Norah. In Jefferson County, Alabama, prosecutors are actively working to revoke the bond that's kept her free since 2021 and to bring her back to face the trial she skipped in May. And in Paulding County, Georgia, an obstruction warrant is still waiting to be served. As of this documentary's research, it remains unclear exactly how those three cases will be sequenced, whether Brown will face trial in Fulton County first, or whether she'll be extradited to Alabama or transferred to Paulding County before any of that happens. Local outlets have reported reaching out to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office for clarity on that question without a confirmed answer. For Alicia Redding, the legal proceedings are, for now, secondary to something more immediate, processing what happened to her daughters and to the trust she placed in someone she believed was family. She has spoken publicly about watching the body camera footage of the rescue for the first time. She said hearing her daughters crying in that video was the hardest part. She recalled watching 4-year-old Zola respond instinctively when officers ordered everyone in the trailer to raise their hands. When the police said, "Put your hands up," and my baby put her hands up, Redding said, "It's so sad." She has also spoken about the deeper betrayal at the center of this case, not just that her children were taken, but by whom. "I trusted her," she said, and she broke that trust. In another interview reflecting on the year-long friendship that preceded it, she said, "This whole time, she has been acting like a family friend trying to gain my trust." Whether that friendship was, from the very beginning, a calculated path toward access to her children, or something that shifted for reasons that may never be fully known, is Redding's own belief, not something proven in a courtroom. It's one of several questions this case leaves open for now. What isn't open to question is how it ended, at least for two little girls whose names, until August 2026, no one outside their own family and community had reason to know. Zola and Norah Cooper are home. They were medically evaluated and found to be safe. They are back with their mother. That fact alone separates this case from so many others that don't get to end this way. But a safe recovery is not the same as an explanation. It doesn't answer why a woman with an unresolved kidnapping case in Alabama was trusted, a year later with 2 children in Georgia. It doesn't answer what she intended to do, or how long she planned to keep them, or why, by her own alleged admission, she didn't simply bring them back when she was asked. Those questions now belong to prosecutors in 3 separate jurisdictions, and to a legal process that, as of today, is still just beginning. What we do know is this: a detective heard a child crying inside a locked trailer and 2 sisters came home because of it. Somewhere between a Facebook post offering free hair appointments and a sweltering trailer on Sylvan Road, a year of trust was built and broken. The case against Lakesha Brown is still unfolding in Georgia and in Alabama, and this documentary will follow it as it develops. For now, we're left with the questions that remain, and maybe that's the most honest place to end. If you were in Alicia Redding's position, trusting someone your children had grown to call family, what warning signs, if any, do you think could realistically have been seen in advance? And what do you think it says about how these cases fall through the cracks between jurisdictions, when a warrant in one state doesn't stop someone from gaining a family's trust in another? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. This is a case still working its way through the courts, and real people are living through it. If you want to stay updated as this case develops and see more carefully researched true crime coverage like this, subscribe to Real Crime Review and we'll see you in the next one.